I typically prefer rifles that have wood stocks on them, but I do have a few that are synthetic, and I do like them as well. The only one I'm not caring for currently is this 22. The paint job on the stock isn't my favorite. It seems fine from a distance, like nice little camo pattern. But when you get up close and take a look at it, it's like extremely digital, like pixelated. And the more I look at it, the less I'm digging it. So I love this rifle in the features it has, but I just really want to make this something I'm a little bit more happy with the way it looks. You know, this it reminds me of like a paintball gun or 90s video game pixels or something. So it's just a little more juvenile of a look than I care for. So today I'm going to show you guys very easy way how to spray paint and create your own camo pattern for a rifle like this. And I'm also going to do an old thermos I've got just to show you a couple different techniques and show that, you know, it isn't just about rifle stocks. You can do this with pretty much everything. I've seen it done on coolers, flashlights, hard cases for cell phones, anything like that. So in order to save time, you know, I went ahead and did all the prep work. So you'll want to, of course, break down the rifle as much as you can. I took off the buttstock pad and the sling swivels and then went ahead and painter's taped off what I don't want painted. One little tip I would use is if you got a little pair of scissors like this, I found it in my like bathroom kit. I think it's for trimming your beard and nose hairs or whatever. That's really nice for when you tape in there. You know, you're going to have pieces of tape sticking up, but something like this lets you get up really close and get a nice cut out of there. So when you're painting, that extra tape isn't in your way. So that's pretty nice for putting your tape on and getting that nice so you can get clean lines when you do the painting and it's a little bit easier on yourself. So I'm going to try to make this as short as possible, you know, not show every little detail. I'm going to assume you're capable of operating a spray can. So I'm just going to show you more of the techniques of how to do it and the reasons why you would do those things, and then give you the general result that comes from it. A few little notes on color. Your base color is going to change the way that all the other colors look on top of it. So like a lot of people will have black stocked rifles because generally that's the cheapest ones. And those are make an excellent platform to do this kind of camo painting on. And that's what's so nice about spray painting it like this, because if you end up not liking it, just repaint it. Like if you can't get a camo pattern you like, just pick a single solid color like an olive drab or something and just paint it that. I mean, you have options. You don't like it a year from now, or it gets really beat up, just redo it again another time. But if you take that black rifle and you start putting these other colors on it, it's going to make all the other colors much darker and more drab. Now that may be the look you're going for, but I would prefer to use like a whiter color, not a pure bright white, but more this is called ivory, because when you put these other colors on top of the white, it's going to make them much more lighter and vibrant. Like if you look behind me in the woods, where the sun comes through the trees and hits leaves or branches or whatever, it really brightens them up and gives them that vibrant look. So that's what I'm trying to go for with the primary camo colors. So I'm going to be doing a full coat, base coat of this satin ivory. You want some kind of flat or satin if possible. Like these camo colors come in a flat, you know, so there's no gloss or shine to them at all. But I could not find a flat white, so the next best is satin, but you absolutely want to avoid gloss when you're doing something like this. So we're going to do that primary base coat. I'm going to show you. And then we're going to do the techniques for the camo colors on top of that. So these are all Krylon because that's what my local store carries, but Rust-Oleum also has a line of the various camo colors as well, and both of them work just as good. I used the Rust-Oleum before too. So the best thing you can do when you're deciding what colors you want to use is kind of just pull up images online of various camo patterns, and you want to just ignore the pattern and more focus on the actual colors that are within it. Not only what colors it contains, but in what proportions. You know, is a certain color only make up 5 or 10% of the pattern, which means it's very minimal, or is it more like 30% of the pattern, which would be very dominant? So you kind of want to ahead of time maybe think up your kind of proportions. So the way I'm going for on this rifle is a little bit more green heavy. I'm going to use all of these colors, but the two greens are going to be a little bit more dominant because I'm in a forested area here. And even in the winter, there's still a lot of green around. So I'm comfortable with doing that. But to show what can be done on this thermos, I'm going to do more of like an arid environment sort of thing. So what I'm going to do is remove the greens from that and just use the base and these other four. So it'll be about 5 more of an arid kind of color to it. And there's other options as well. I saw there at the store they had a brown that was kind of like a reddish brown. And I thought for somebody living in the desert Southwest, something like that could be pretty cool. Maybe certain shades of gray for that. So it just kind of depends on your location and what you're looking to do. So I'm happy that we're going to do 2 different types because that's going to show you how drastic of a change you can really make with just minimal color change and just being mindful of the different proportions you're using them in. So we've got 2 coats of our base color on here. And if you got any runs or imperfect coverage or whatever, don't sweat it. You know, it's going to get covered up once we start patterning. I'm not perfect at doing spray painting either. So, and that's actually one thing I see is when people try to camo, they try to be too perfect with everything. Like when they start patterning, everything will be spaced out exactly the same. That's not what you want. You want different distances between things. You want things turned sideways and upside down. The more random and chaotic you can make it, the cooler the effect is going to turn out. So don't worry about imperfections. That's actually a good thing. So now we're coming to the fun part, actually putting patterns on. So the first thing we're going to do is what I would call the larger blobs. And the way we're going to pattern it is with some good old grocery bags here. I know you've got like 300 of these in your closet just waiting for this very moment. So they're so good because all you got to do is crumple them up a little bit and that creates patterning for you. So this needs to be done while the paint is wet. So we need to work a little bit fast. But what I'm going to be doing is picking 2 of our colors at random, make a blob with the 2 of them, and then stick this over it and pat it down over the entire part of that wet paint. That's then going to grab on with the crinkles and everything are going to create a pattern, and as we pull it away, it'll leave the pattern behind with the colors, and that'll give us our main blobs. So this will be our first pattern, and then we will move on to a different type of pattern later on. So, some dirt on there, put my mask on. I would suggest using gloves, a breather, and safety glasses, just a good idea. So we'll start with our 2 colors we've chosen. And make a blob. Okay, if it's a little bit wet, Same thing with the other color. Now, we'll take our bag, press it down over that, and then as we pull it away, it's going to give us pattern. If you're not happy totally with what's been done with it, you can always stick more down on it, stick it down again, and do it slightly differently. You know, just kind of pad in areas or something like that. Now, as you see, it's going to pull away a lot of paint. So as you're doing different ones, you're going to want to use different parts of the bag. So you probably need multiple bags for this. Now, because you got this wet here, if you have any small parts, like from the thermos, it's not so easy to spray them and do that. So it's much easier to just do something like this. That'll start getting the pattern that way. So I'm going to go on and do the rest of these off camera because this takes some time to do. And again, I'm going to show you each one is going to have different colors, each blob. And I don't want to do the entire thing. It's okay to leave some base coat behind, and it's okay on each blob to overlap other blobs you did previously. That's part of that chaotic nature. So I'm going to show you when I'm done with it, and you'll get a better idea of what I mean by that. Okay, so we finished the first blob pattern here. And you can kind of see that there's even some places where I didn't get to, and that's okay. If you made some major oopsies here, again, don't worry about it. You look real closely, I got a bunch of little oopsies there. That's no big deal, because this next step is where we got much more control over how we're going to do things, and we can kind of work with what we've got. So same thing if you got your colors out of proportion. Like you can see right here, that's really dark, like a dark green and black in there. That's a little overwhelming there. Well, in this stage, I'm going to be able to come back in and maybe put something a little lighter there and break that up a little bit more. And I wanted this more greenish. So the whole point of this first stage was basically just to get a pattern and some color down. So mission accomplished. That's you just got to trust in the process. It'll get there. You can see there's spots that the white undercoat is still there. No problem. What we're going to do for the next stage is put on a different pattern. And this time we're going to use sponges. Okay? So a lot of people will buy like the natural sponges with all the natural holes and stuff in it. But this is just a grout sponge that I took and just ripped apart. You find that in the hardware store where they got the tile for tile and grout. So when you do this, you want to tear the sponge up into different sizes, okay? You want small pieces, big pieces, long ones, different shapes. And you want to take it and you want to rip it up, you know? You do not want any straight lines. Any straight lines anywhere, like on the edge of the sponge, you want to rip pieces out of it so it looks more abnormal. You know, the more gnarly you can make these things look, the better it's going to turn out. And one sponge gave me all these pieces. So I can use multiple ones for each color. I've got enough for that. So basically what you're going to do with this is just take a plate or a piece of cardboard, whatever, anything will work, and I'm going to spray a puddle of the spray paint onto it, and then take my sponge, dip it into it, and then put pattern on here. So once again, just a reminder, you do not want to evenly space these things apart. That's not the point. You want them all different spaces and turn them around in different directions and use different sizes and different shapes. You know, use this part of the sponge for that and then use this part of the sponge there. You know, anything you can do to create chaos is going to help the overall effect on it. And try to be mindful of if you have any oopsies or any things you want corrected. Start doing that in this stage of it. There's still one more stage afterwards where we can do final touches, but we want to get it like 95% of the way there with these sponges. Now I prefer to start with the lightest tone and work up to the darkest. And in doing so, with the lightest starting first, I'll use the biggest sponges so I can get a little bit more on there, because at the end it's really easy to go overkill and make it too dark and get spots like this that are too dark. So I'm going to use the smallest little pieces for the darkest of colors at the very end. Start putting the light ones on, work your way up, and then with the dark, you can just, okay, there's a really light spot here, I can just put a little bit of black there. Start doing those little things. And again, I'm going to do this off camera because it's probably going to take me an hour or so. That'd be a long time to just leave on there. But it's looking good so far. There's the mistakes we'll correct, the color will correct. And when I show you next what I've done with the sponges, it's going to be pretty close to finished product. The sponge dabbing is now complete. And the thing I forgot to mention is that when you are dabbing the sponges on there, you do not want to completely cover up the plastic bag stuff you've already done. You know, you want to leave a little bit coming through. Otherwise, it would have been pointless to do it. So just leaving a little bit sticking through. But it turned out nice. I'm happy with it. Same thing with that. There's just one little step we got left that it's probably optional, but I'm going to do it anyways, is to go back and take that original base coat white we had and just take like a tiny sponge and just put a few dabs on there. Don't go overkill with this. The point is not to add color. It's just to add some light contrast to make the rest of these dark colors really pop. So the only white we've got coming through is from the little marks where we pulled the plastic bag off. So those are kind of harsh lines. So I think by using a sponge and just putting just a few of them over the entire thing will help make that offset that a little bit and soften it a little bit. So again, don't go overkill with it. Just a few dabs, just enough to just create some light contrast. And use that as your final opportunity. Any last oopsies, if there's an oopsie somewhere, that's where you put your dab, you know, because as soon as I'm done doing that, it's done, and I'm going to go ahead and put clear coat on it. I like a good, probably about 3 coats I'm going to put on. Without the clear coat, this stuff, even after it's dry, is going to flake off onto your hands and your cheek when you're shooting. So a good solid clear coat that's flat, you want a flat one. It's going to seal it all up. So when it's all done and dried, the clear coat dries pretty quickly. So when it's all said and done, I'll put everything back together and show you guys the final product. I painted the plastic piece that connects this onto the handle, but that plastic broke when I tried reassembling it. So apparently it's not designed to be taken apart and reassembled, so it's more of a canteen than a thermos now. But I'm happy with that. That's, like I said, more of an arid, maybe urban sort of color. And then the rifle itself, reassembled. I hope this motivates somebody to take a boring, soulless rifle that they're not so fond of anymore and transform it into a one-of-a-kind piece that they really love.